I thought that it might be kind of interesting today to do something a little bit different. Part of what we are going to do is give you what we think you expect, which is what's happening with the Gatos Veterans Foundation. And we'll share a little bit of that with you. But in particular, I thought it might be interesting for some of my colleagues to share with you their perspectives from the front line. And to do that, I've brought some individuals along with me. My name is Manzo-Ill. I'm a board director on the Veterans Foundation of Los Gatos. And I'd like to introduce to you Major General Hillhouse, U.S. Army retired, our Veterans Foundation president. Ken?
So I'm supposed to talk about my background. I'm a Vietnam veteran. So first of all, I'd like to thank Avis for stealing my thunder. Very much.
Well, I want to tell you, the Vietnamese love you. They do.
They are good people. Well, they are good people. So we were supposed to talk talk about some of our memories about Vietnam. I have 2.5 minutes to do that. So I'd say that we took charter flights. The U.S. shipped most of the folks over to Vietnam on charter airlines. I was on a TWA charter. We landed, doors open. Temperature went from a pleasant 70 degrees to about 110 degrees. And the smell of a third world or a fourth world country filtered in. And I'm thinking to myself, 365 more days of this. So red ants, you don't know what a red ant is till you go to Vietnam. The national bird there, by the way, is the mosquito. I was in a line unit, I was in a cavalry outfit, so we didn't see base camps. We were out in the jungle all the time. We're in what we call Buffalo country. But playing sea ration roulette, fighting over who gets the chicken noodle soup. After a while, even the worst of the 12 packs, you have to like it. We even shot these lizards. They're members of the iguana family. They didn't have the ripples on the back. Shot them out of trees just at dusk. We call them, they made this weird sound like something new. I forget what that was, but that's how we get moms to send us Tabasco sauce and we mix it up and it tastes like chicken. So we're better than sea rats, so sea rations, as we call them. Our unit moved around a lot. We never stayed in one place except for one night usually. Everything was done by SOPs, standard operating procedure. I was a platoon leader, so I didn't get to really buddy up with my guys because in the Army they have a saying, you can't manage somebody up at hell to die, you have to lead them up. So you can't be too close to your guys, your men. And there were 70 men under my command, of which we took, the original platoon, we took 100% casualties. Wounded or killed. About 40% of the KIA. We were a standard line unit. Just like World War II or Korea, we took a lot of casualties. I learned that we ran out of ammunition, that not only bayonets work, but helmets and entrenching tools work as weapons. North Vietnamese usually didn't come after you unless they thought they could beat you. They were a good army. They knew what they were doing, and usually had our hands full. We usually never lost. So that's some of the memories I have of the war. I think the second question we had was, what did it feel like to get repatriated? Tell me if I'm starting around out of time. By the way, I want to thank Ellen again for that slide presentation. She put that together. That's a great job. It brings a tear to my eye usually when I watch it. I watched it several times. But coming home, again, charter TWA flight coming home, and I remember the pilot came on the air as we approached San Francisco, and one of the stewardesses, they were stewardesses in those days, asked us if we'd like to see the Golden Gate Bridge. And everybody said, yeah, let's see him. So he took that plane down to about whatever the lowest, whatever the minimums are for an airliner, maybe 1,000, 1,200 feet, I don't know, but low, real low, and get the wings back and forth until so everybody could see the bridge. And then we went up to Travis and they bussed us down, and on the bus, it was a hot day, because I was in Vietnam August of '67 to July of '68. So it was summertime, and I remember looking out the window, the traffic was jammed up just like when we left. Had the newspaper, the Giants were losing. It was like nothing had changed. And I remember walking down the street at the time we were in Saratoga with my family, and somebody sees me and says, "Hey, I haven't seen you around in a while. Where have you been?" So it was like there was no war going on, but that was the nature of the beast in those days. So that's basically it. My 5 minutes total here, Ellen.
Ken is being very modest. You all have profiles of the individuals you're hearing about today. You'll notice that this gentleman has been awarded the Distinguished Service Medal, the Legion of Merit, 2 Silver Stars, a Bronze Star, 1 Purple Heart, but was offered 3 more that he turned away modestly and said, "You know, I have enough. We can give those to others, to the other guys. They deserve it." So thank you again for your service. I'd like to introduce the 2 other speakers, and then we'll go back and ask them the same questions that Ken just answered. Joining us today, we have Michael Frangadakis, who is was a medic in the Vietnam War, and he is also the founder of the foundation.
My experience was a little bit different than the general. It's probably why I'm a Rotarian to this very day. Because what you described, Avis, is what my unit did. We would provide medical and dental services. Oh, who's that? To Vietnamese civilians and to soldiers like the general to keep them operational. We would go in the field to make sure that they could do their duty. A lot of people don't realize that 90% of our military are non-combative. Only 10% is in the category of the infantry. 10 to 12%. Am I right on this, General? Correct. So most of us were supporting the infantry people, the people that fight. And we would do things like nation building, trying to bring these countries to the 21st century. So that's what I did, and we would go to villages and provide medical and dental, just like Rotary does, just like Dr. Allery does. We try to keep people functioning. They didn't even, in some of these villages that we went to, they didn't know what a doctor was. They didn't have any sanitary facilities. We would just go in with interpreters and say, "Look, we can help you build a latrine. You don't need to go behind the hooch. It's not good for the population in your village." And those are the kind of things that we would do. But there was always bad people out there that would want to kill us. They didn't want to say, "Get the hell out of here." They just would shoot or blow us up or whatever. So luckily we had people like Ryan Hall, where'd he go? And General Hillhouse's guys to keep them away. So we were pretty safe. We were pretty safe. But I did get a propensity for helping other people. And I started working in the VA. My first job in the VA when I went to De Anza College in 1972 was working in the detox center at Palo Alto VA, and that was another eye-opening experience for me. And I knew that there was an issue that needed to be satisfied by us here back at home, and I've been doing my part ever since. And with the help of Rotary, you have really helped me do what I would like to do, or do my part, basically because of what you've done, you know, and how you supported me and our groups. So I just want to take this time to say thanks to all of you for what you've done. I was 21 in those pictures, but 68 now.
And we have our youngest veteran who's with us today, Specialist Ryan Hall, who will tell you a little bit about what he's been up to over the last several years. Ryan?
So my name is Ryan Hall. My dad's George Hall. I've grown up in Los Gatos my entire life. Sadly, I had to go to Saratoga with my mom. And something against Los Gatos High School, I don't know why. I joined up in the military after I had an allergic reaction to penicillin my second year of college, and my best friend left, and I just said, well, you know, after I went to his basic, I go, this is what I wanted. Went there, and my dad's always convinced me to strive to always be the best. And I know we're supposed to have the nation or the world's greatest power, but you know, when I went to basic training, did my AIT training, and I saw the kids I was running around with, I just go, I'm gonna get killed with these guys. They're high school kids just trying to play big. So I decided when I saw the recruiter to go to become a ranger, like, that's what I want. If any of you have any idea what a ranger is a special operations group that is unique in compared to any of the other ones. All the other groups have 6, 7, maybe 10 people in them. Rangers run in platoon-sized groups, and our backbone is the private, the future of leadership. That is how a ranger works, is that it works not just with a small group, but it works with a very large group too, so that they can overcome any obstacle. As you can see, if you can't tell, that's me, the only one grinning right there, because I'm having way too much fun carrying 150 pounds on my back. Being a ranger has changed my life. It has shown me what I can do physically, and that actually life is not just only a physical battle, but it is more of a mental battle no matter what. You really see what your physical abilities are limited to only by your mental state. To become a ranger, you have to do 4 weeks of what is considered the most hellish thing on earth. You are starved, sleep deprived, exercise beyond all belief, and it only sounds like 4 weeks. It sounds like a short time, but those 4 weeks take forever. And at the very end of that, you don't have to, it's not just a test of mental and physical, you also have to know your history. So you have to, while you're getting smoked is when you're doing a whole bunch of push-ups, not getting to sleep, having to do exercises, you also have to study. Because if you don't pass the written test, you don't pass becoming a ranger. There is a total, on average, about 2,000 rangers in the U.S. Army. That's about, what, about 5%, sir, of the regular Army? 0.5%. And there's only about, now, 2 to 3% of the entire populace that joins the military at all. So for me, becoming a ranger is a very special and memorable thing in my mind that I'll never forget. Oh, and I also like jumping out of planes. That was just a perk.
Well, I'd like to just give you a sample of some of the kinds of medical missions.
Yeah, okay, so Davis, you might have seen, this is an orphanage. Is this something that you saw?
Oh, I saw many orphanages, and actually this one looks pretty good compared to some of the ones I've seen.
That's because they were run by the military, not the communist government.
Right.
But, yeah, this is just some shots of going through villages and just helping people and providing security. I love this picture because see the ears on our patient there? It's interesting stuff. You know, when you're 19 and you get drafted and you're raised in Santa Clara County, you go to a place like Vietnam, it's a very rude awakening. And then when you start working there, it becomes even more rude awakening. This is a village that we flew into. It's called the Mountain Yard Village. Again, we didn't call them rangers. We had Green Beret perimeters. They were already down there preparing to protect our docs. Nobody wanted the docs to get hurt. You like that, doctor? Unfortunately, the 2 people that were killed in my unit were docs. Got killed in a helicopter crash. This is a school that some of our guys were supporting, bringing clothes and everything else to these people. So it's just an experience that I will never forget. I think about it all the time. And I think about all the other people that went through this and come home and should be recognized. Now, I don't think it was mentioned about Jim Lyon, but Jim Lyon was a decorated warrior. Does everybody know that? Yeah, he had the Purple Heart. Don, what else did he have?
Bronze Star.
Bronze Star. Yeah, so these are the people that we're going to honor here at our memorial. We're not going to let them be forgotten. Not only because they're great people, and they're great Americans and Loskatans and whatever city they come from, but because we have to honor them. We just do. And there's a gigantic problem with a lot of our vets. There is right now. And these are people that we all know and live with. And it's really, in our opinion, something that we need to recognize and all work together. Once we work together, it's a family. You talk about a family. How many people in this room are veterans right now? How many people in this room are related to veterans? Probably everybody else. So we're all affected. That's the big picture. So I know that everybody in this room understands where we're coming from. Unfortunately, there are some Americans that do not understand or recognize the philosophy that we all adhere to. And that may be a good thing to a certain extent. We're not a militaristic society. We don't want to run around going lockstep like this and all that. That's not what this is all about. We understand the American way, and there's a lot of people that are here to protect it. And those are the people that we recognize.
So General and Ryan, what I'd like to ask you is to spend a minute or two talking about your experience in your return to the United States. General, let's start with you.
This ought to be good.
Well, we came back as individuals, not as units. We figured that out as a bad deal, and I think Ryan can tell you that they came back, and when they deploy and come back home as a unit, that way you could kind of, with your buddies, talk about things on your way in, way out, and so forth. That wasn't the case in Vietnam. In fact, I always wanted to fly. And if you can fly a helicopter, you can fly anything, and I got accepted to flight school. But I turned it down because I knew I'd have to go back to Vietnam again. So now you look at these guys today getting deployed 5 or 6 times. I think Ryan was deployed 4 or 5 times. I mean, that hurts. I mean, I could not imagine myself having to go back to Vietnam a second time. I never got, you hear stories about people being spit on in the airports and stuff. That didn't happen to me. And actually, I didn't understand that because somebody spits on you, guy's in trouble. So I didn't see that happen really. But still, you didn't have anyone to talk to. You felt kind of alone. You had an experience that was kind of inside of you, and kind of stayed there. So that's hopefully, I think things are being recognized now, and people are, the VA is involved, and Ryan can speak more to that than I can because he works with veterans today. So I'm going to turn it over to Ryan on that.
Thank you, General. Yeah, I did 5 deployments. I did 1 to Iraq, 4 to Afghanistan. Did a total of between 4 to 6 months on each deployment, with a total as somewhere around 3,000 to 4,000 combat missions in total. The General said, yeah, he came back as an individual, and going back with your unit is nice. I didn't come back on commercial, or I didn't go over on commercial flights actually, but that's kind of the benefits of being special operations. We had our own kind of planes. Just got to sleep the entire way, give some ambient. Coming home though, we were allotted 1 leave if we had the days before and 1 leave after deployments. And our deployments went from 4 to 6 months, and we would have about 6 months in between each deployment. So that gave us a total of somewhere around 10 to 20 days per year to spend with our families at home. That's not much time, And the worst part is you can't even tell your parents or your family where you're going. We're not allowed to. So once I finally came home, I kind of didn't really know how to act. I just felt like I was on leave. I kept expecting myself that I was getting ready to go back on a plane. And that took me about 2 years to get used to. I always felt I was about to go home. Or go home, for me, was going back to Afghanistan, because I've been there so much. You go over there, you literally don't feel like you've been gone, especially when you go back to the same camp. So what I find is veterans suffer from something that we all know as PTSD. Up to, I believe, Desert Storm, they called it shell shock. And just lately, throughout all this, they start calling it post-traumatic stress disorder. And I'm one of those veterans that have that. But in my opinion, there's two types of it. You got one that you get from the combat zone, and the other is coming back to society. Society does thank us and welcome us home, not like the Vietnam vets. I couldn't imagine how that would have been. I've talked to some of them. The stories they tell me just drive me crazy. But for me, it's like a false welcoming almost. You guys are thankful that I'm home, but what I was trained to do and how to act isn't welcomed in society anymore. So I feel like I have to put on a fake mask to fit in. And I think that's one of the issues a lot of veterans have coming home now, is that we're welcome, but yet we're really not. So for me, that's what I think about reintegration into our society.
Can you give an example of that? No.
An example. Well, as the general said, or no, sorry, Sergeant Major here said that, Master Sergeant, wow, I really need to learn my ranks again.
I like the first one.
I know you did. It's a promotion at least. At least I gave you a promotion certificate. Demoting you. There's only 10% of the actual armed forces doing combat missions, or combat in general. And so for us, the way we're trained is, well, let me rephrase this. Everyone has a flight or fight reaction to any type of situation you fall into. Well, when we in combat are trained, we lose that flight. It's on. You go from 0 to 1,000 miles an hour. It's just turn the switch. You can't do that in society. We have to think more rationally. We can't just attack. You know, if we see a threat, we have to destroy the threat. That's what we were trained to do. That's what happened. Vietnam vet, doesn't matter what area you come through. I mean, I've worked with World War II guys. I mean, some of those guys are awesome. But the stories they tell us is just, doesn't matter what generation you come from, it's this, you get the same experiences. You come home, you get the same feeling. You get the same, I don't know where I fit in. And for me, that's the hardest part, is just trying to start a family myself and continue on getting a job. And I mean, heck, I see a plastic bag on the road, I think IED. I speed up and I drive like a bat out of hell going, I ain't even blowing up again. But then I get pulled over, cop goes, why are you speeding? Well, I saw a plastic bag, I thought it was an IED. He goes, what do you mean IED? The problem is the cop doesn't know what an IED is, and the cop just goes, well, you're speeding, you're going 90 miles an hour, now I gotta arrest you and pound your car. I was like, what do you mean? No, get away from me. The problem is a lot of police officers also have no idea how to talk to a vet that's been in combat and how to approach them. Because the minute for us, we see a combatant. All we want to do is attack. So that's some of the few examples that I've gone through and have heard through other veterans.
Thank you, Ryan. I would like to just make a point, and that is that in contrast to some of the veterans who fought in the Vietnam War, Ryan enlisted, as have many of his comrades who have fought on the War of Terror. He volunteered. And I know that several of you in the audience might have businesses, might have the opportunity to hire individuals. And to that end, what I'd like to share with you is today's veteran who's returning from deployment is a tremendous, tremendous resource. Number one, they're risk takers. Anybody who's going to volunteer, as this man has, to go off on 2 to 3 missions a night, probably about 4,000 in his military career, 4,000 opportunities to put his life at risk, is a risk taker. So if you're an entrepreneur, or you have a startup, or you need commissioned salespeople, you know these guys know how to take on risk. Second, if they're loyal to their country, think about how loyal they will be to your company and to your firm, right? And third, they know how to take a hill, they know how to execute. 3 great reasons to hire a vet. Well, thank you, gentlemen. What I'd like to do is now move to another speaker and have you hear from our Vice President of the Foundation, George Hall, who also brings another perspective to the table. George is not a vet, but George can tell you the perspective from a different angle.
I sure can. Thank you, Ellen. First of all, I think I'd like to express my gratitude to everybody here. It's pretty important what we're doing here. When Mike said, "Hey, I'm interested in putting something together," is there anybody here that would like to do it? I volunteered because I saw my friend. I was drafted in 1965. I was ready to go through some minor medical situation with me. I was not allowed. I pleaded and begged not to be 4F. It sounded disgusting to me. and the medical officer there said, "Okay, we'll make you 1Y," which means that if they want you, they can take you. So that's then I watched my friends come back from Vietnam and be spit upon. Terrible reception for people who, most of them, many of them, were drafted. They had no choice. They put their lives on the line. They went to a foreign country full of Agent Orange and tropical diseases and were shot at and blown up and whatnot, and came back to that. And I said, boy, someday I'm going to find something I can do to make them feel better. So then my son decides to run off and become an Army Ranger, and that even gives me more incentive. So that's what I'm all about, and I'm grateful for the opportunity to do that. So I think I want to bring you back a little bit, give a little history of the foundation that Michael started, and then bring you up to date as to what we're doing today.
2012, at the urging of former Mayor of Los Gatos, the Honorable Stephen Rice, a Veterans Foundation was created. 2 years ago, we presented our proposal to the Town Council.
If you go ahead and decide that the fountain area upstairs is your #1 choice, I actually can visualize that really well. The front lawn, I am not too sure about.
As I look at this, I'm thinking probably the focus for me would be the deck up above us. And that to me is the most, it's a classic opportunity for you to create an educational as well as a very meditative kind of environment. And I think it's that combination that will work very nicely.
As much as I hate the thought of losing that wonderful dry fountain that dominates the deck, it does seem like a natural place. And I don't think I've done this entire year as mayor, but I'm going to take mayoral prerogative at this point. And I'm going to move that we authorize the foundation to develop and submit for council review and approval 2 to 4 proposals for the location and design of the Veterans Memorial at the Los Gatos Civic Center, incorporating the pageant grounds, Civic Center deck, and or the front lawn and the flagpoles. Those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The motion carries unanimously, and we look forward to seeing what you bring back in the very near future.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, so from that point, we put together a list of artists we reached out to come up with some ideas and some concepts based upon the area that they had discussed, which was the fountain area at the town council area. And we got a number of excellent ideas, concepts and whatnot. We presented those concepts to the town council, and we found that there were a number of issues with this particular location. It provided a limited area for which we could put something memorable in there. And there was some negativity that came about that we decided we would rather look to other areas that we could have a freer hand. So we're now finding that the area behind the large lawn, where there's now some large redwood trees and cedar trees there, and a ivy area that the town council believes might be an appropriate spot for us to put something together there. So that's what we're in the process of doing now. We have to go through the whole thing again, which means because now that we have a larger area, it's a different atmosphere there, we can come up with different concepts. So we're, again, reaching out to artists. We're working with the people that associate with that area, the Arts Council, the museum, and we look forward to having something this year that we can step forward and get going and construct it. So that's basically where we're at. I'd like to just take a minute to do a little personal offering here. You know, when I got excited about reaching out to veterans, and then I realized what it was like to be a parent of a veteran, of a soldier that is putting his life on the line out there. And I thought, you know, this memorial should not just be for veterans, but it should be for the people that share the lives of those veterans. It's tough. Boy, my wife was not a happy camper for 6 years. Well, she was happy when she saw her son, and not happy when he left, and wasn't happy again until he came back. And because you don't know if they're coming back, you know, and or if they're coming back in one piece. So this is important for those of us that have people there, and even if you don't, you know somebody that does, and to give some honor, some respect, and gratitude to those, because you know, without those people, this would not be the United States of America. It would not be. It takes the people that are willing to sacrifice, to step up to the plate, and be on loan to the government to do with what they feel is appropriate with them, and without being able to argue or vote on it. And my hat's off to them. And I hope you agree. Thank you much.
Thank you, everyone, for staying late. I realize you may have a commitment. I appreciate you sticking around. And thank you, everyone, for participating. George, thanks for speaking from your heart. And Ellen, thank you very much for pulling this together. I appreciate that. Everyone, this meeting is adjourned.